Hello, hello, my lovely friend. I am so excited to be here with you today. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity for this platform and for you. And that indeed we can have a conversation today. And my whole goal here is to add value, to equip you, and to help you to be better. I think that as we share our experiences and share our expertise and knowledge, and we engage in meaningful conversations, we can make a big impact on each other and better impact in this world. So my name is John Maxwell, and I am the host of this LinkedIn Live broadcast, Powering Unique You. It's all about your empowerment, my friend, and I'm happy to share what I know and also bring you the most amazing guests that I've met and I believe can have quite a bit of wisdom to add and quite a bit of knowledge and experience to share that is going to be beneficial. First, for me, I'm a little bit biased, but I believe for you too. So let's get it started. As you're joining in, please let me know, how are you doing today? How things are going on for you? This is Monday, might be morning for you, might be afternoon, depends on where you are. I'm so thrilled you're going to join live and share this time together. So, my friend, today's conversation is quite insightful. It's talking about, let's think and talk about what success can be for you, what significance can mean to you, and how do you move from success to significance. It's this topic really became an insightful, I say, outflow from my conversation from an amazing gentleman that I met online. I got introduced to him. He is award-winning, internationally recognized speaker. He is trainer and executive coach. He also owned and founded his own company, Inspire to Empower. Here we have some commonalities with him. And his mission to inspire professionals and individuals and their teams to unleash their true potential and excel beyond their current expectations. I really love the mission. I think it's really honorable. So this also gentleman is very trained in storytelling, and I look forward to for him to share some stories with us today. He's certified coach and speaker with John Maxwell Team, and he's working on becoming an author. It's a FEIN-er, the FEIN-er Things. It's going to be a guide, 52-week guide to living an inspired life. Well, let's not hold it even further. Let's bring on Mr. Eric Feinandigan. Hello, Eric.
Hello, and good morning. Great to see you, Jana.
So good to have you here today. We have our true lovely friend Keith saying hello to both of us today. Hello, Keith. Thank you for joining live. Have my lovely, amazing friend Beverly saying always good networking and looking for better game. Beverly, you are on the ride. This is going to be a phenomenal conversation, Eric.
Looking forward to it for sure.
I would love for you to share a story about your journey of defining success and maybe give some nuggets to how our listeners and viewers can do that for themselves.
Absolutely. So first, again, I want to thank you for having me, and I'm very grateful to all your listeners. Looking forward to sharing some ideas and exploring success and significance together. Now, it's interesting, we were sharing before we went on backstage that when you look at success, there are a lot of layers that go into it. I asked, to get ready for this podcast, I asked 5 people over the weekend what their definition of success was. And Jana, as you can probably imagine, I got 5 different responses. So I think as we explore this topic, that people really have to appreciate the fact that it is unique to the individual. And it's not as simple as we like to make it seem. But when it comes to success, that is something that I've evolved quite a bit with. You know, my mindset, you know, from a child as I went through adolescence and adulthood really has shifted. So in the beginning, right, growing up, I thought success was, well, if I make $100,000 a year, then I'm a success. Or, if I win in this, this certain competition, well, then I'm a success. And it was about winning for a long time. But then as we evolve, it actually shifted, and now it's the opposite, where I believe that we can actually fail and be successful. Now, what do I mean by that? It's because when we fail, that's when we get the teaching moments. That's when we learn. That is when we grow. So to me, personally, success is about growth.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned my book, and thank you for the plug. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later in the conversation. But to me, success really is, it's doing things that at one point you thought that you could not do. It's about breaking through that mental barrier, because let's face it, we live in a physical world, but we also live in a mental world.
Yes.
And to me, we really exist between these 6 inches right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to. So if you can do something that, let's say yesterday you weren't able to do, that to me is the ultimate definition of success. So that's kind of my first thoughts on that. And
I love it.
Explore a little bit more. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it, Eric. And I agree with you that it is unique to individual. And what I would love to inspire our viewers and listeners to do today, take a notepad and put some notes together. What success means to you. And like I like, Eric, what you've started with, it's 5 people, you ask 5 different people, you're going to get 5 different questions. And in addition to that, I think it depends on the stage of life we're in. And it also depends on maybe what we see for ourselves. I think it ties into our capacity or capability to see bigger things for ourselves. Yeah. And I agree that it aligns with growth. And sometimes I found that when we think about success, sometimes we aim for external things, like you started in the beginning, right? Some compensation or recognition or this or that. But I think the ultimate and the deeper meaning to me, in my experience, is defining, am I in alignment of who I am and my values and what I bring to the world and the impact I make in the world? And and that is, interestingly, now falls into different categories of our life. It can be professional, it can be family, it can be health, it can be spiritual. So it depends on where we want to focus on. That definition kind of can flow a little bit. So that is very interesting. So I want you to, as you're listening, please define for yourself today what success means to you. And now, Eric, we talked before we went live, when we met together, we chatted about significance. And it was interesting to hear your perspective in how you shifted from defining for yourself just the pursuit towards success to shifting into significance. And maybe give us a little bit of definition what that significance means to you now.
Absolutely. Success, in my opinion, as we mentioned, it's about me. It's about self. But when you switch to significance, you're going from self to service. You're going from it's about me to it's about we. It's a collaborative journey when it comes to significance. And this is a journey that I started, as you mentioned, I'm John C. Maxwell Leadership Certified. And I'll share kind of the transformation that I had. Let me take you back. It was about 5 years ago. I'm sitting in an auditorium in Orlando with about 6,000 other people. And up to the stage walks John C. Maxwell, arguably the greatest leader in the world that we have today. He's considered by many pundits as the #1 leadership expert. He's the highest paid non-celebrity speaker in the world. So I'm sitting there with these 6,000 people, and I swear, Jana, I felt like he was talking right to me. And he said, significance, right, is about adding value. It's about producing while you're reproducing. So when we look at leadership and significance, right, it's not about developing followers. It's about developing more leaders. Mm-hmm. And that shift was huge for me because, again, up to that point, I was stuck in the realm of success. You know,
Yes.
what can I get for me? What can I get for Eric? What can I get for Eric? Win, that whole thing, right? And that's a lot of pressure. I mean, let's just face it. I was actually relieved, when all the attention was taken off of me and I was able to, express that and to help other people as well. So,
Wow, this is really deep. I love this.
yeah,
So
and John,
how did it manifest in your life?
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So when you change your mindset, when you change the internal world, the external world changes. And to your point, things began to manifest. Opportunities began to open themselves where I could take the skills that I had developed because I was focusing and developing on myself. But now you can share those skills. And what I notice is the more that you give, the more that you get. The more that I was helping others, the more I was helping myself. It was, I get excited, goosebumps just talking about it. So specifically, I started to look for opportunities, to give back, to share some of the things that I've been so blessed with and grateful for, the opportunities that have been given to me. And, it doesn't have to be big things. Like, for example, I played 2 years of college basketball, right? That's an experience and a skill set that I developed. Now I'm coaching my 10-year-old in his 5th grade team, and being able to pour into these kids and to be a mentor to them and to encourage them and to, let them know that, hey, that they can be somebody in life. That's having that to me, again, it is the ultimate definition of both being successful and significant in someone else's life. And Jen, I want to share one more thing.
Yes. No,
It's
please.
talk about significance.
Please,
So I've
please.
been both a giver and a receiver when it comes to significance. Let me take you back to high school. And, I've always been a pretty good student, but in high school, there was one class for whatever reason that I could not get. It was social studies. And it was my sophomore year. I had just taken a quiz. I got a D-, and I was in jeopardy of failing the class. So I walked up to the teacher. His name was Coach K. He was the wrestling coach. I said, Coach, I don't think I can pass this thing. And he looked at me straight in the eye and he said 4 words that forever changed my life. And you want to talk about significant moments and how you can literally change someone's life in one conversation. And Keith Weedman, thank you for instilling that in me. But he did change my life in one conversation. He said, Eric, you can do anything. And Jana, because I respected this man so much, and because he was in a position of influence, I believed him. And whenever I struggle, ever since that point, whenever I struggled, I go back to those 4 words. And they would give me the courage, right, and the energy to move forward and to continue to try things. And in the face of adversity, to continue to push forward. And that's something I want to tell your listeners.
I love it.
You can do anything.
Yes. Wow. This is really deep. I love the stories, and I love how you unfolded the meaning of significance to you and your experience. And I would love to invite our listeners now that hopefully you have a notepad and jotting some notes. Write down for yourself, maybe think back to your life and your experience and your story. And we would love if you can share it even here in the comments with us, to where you've experienced the significance, whether you experienced the significance like Eric, you just beautifully described, from someone else to you, like this person was a significant to you and it made a significant difference in your life, or you were the one that changed somebody's life. And I know Keith, on our conversation when we had a podcast time together, he shared how he made a big difference in someone's life by just giving it a little bit of encouragement at a time and being persistent with that. And I love that you've given us, and that segues into our next session or point that we want to talk about today, is really the definition or a differentiation, how to move from success to significance. And looking at it from my experience and reflecting on what you shared, I think success is a lot of our internal, and it's like you said, me, focused on me. And then significance is almost like legacy. What are we leaving? What footprint or imprint of what, kind of a mark are we leaving in people's hearts, in people's lives, and on this earth? And my experience was a little bit different because I've always was driven by service. I've always felt like I need to give, 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 give. I always felt that I need to serve, 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 serve. And what I realized at some point of the burnout that I've experienced is that I focused too much outwardly. To me, success was like serving to others. And the trap there, that internal trap that is not very visible, is that I deplete myself by not paying attention to my own well-being, my own level of energy, my own, even like I would say being my own cheerleader. So I would cheer everybody else, but I would negate myself internally. So that was a big shift for me. And it's a little bit of different, I know, from your experience, where I have to focus on what is going on internally within me and start building myself internally so I can indeed get to the next level of significance, the next level of serving and giving to others. Because guess what? You can't give much from the empty cup, right? And to your point, what you mentioned is also the more you receive and the more you give, then it opens up an opportunity for you to receive more. So that's a beautiful illustration, I say, with the water hose. If you tap the water in the beginning, there's going to be no outflow. But if you put the water up and there's no exit, you're also only going to get so much in. So it's a beautiful example of that. You're going to serve, you're going to give, but you also have to remember to fuel yourself. And to that, Eric, I would love to hear that difference and transition. How do people move? Maybe some tips, practical tips, 2-3 tips that you can give, how to move from success, me, seeing something just for myself, to living a life of significance and legacy.
Yeah, there are some definite steps. So the first step I would say is, if you're in a scarcity mindset, shift into an abundance mindset. Because for me, growing up, right, I grew up very poor, right? Everything that I was able to get, I had to fight tooth and nail. So I was kind of brought up into this scarcity, you got to fight for everything. If I get it, if someone has it, I have to get, that type of, it was like a fight for territory, right? But again, as we evolve and mature, right, we move from that scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And when you carry that throughout your life, now you're looking for opportunities to give back. The second step would be let go of the ego. Something that was very difficult for me. I'm an A-type personality, an extreme competitor, right? I still do competitive speaking, and we can talk about that in a little bit. And, when you accomplish things, right, and especially with, some of the, social media, you get a lot of, you get praise and people telling you how great you are. We got to be very careful. We have to check ourselves. We have to check that ego and let go of that, because the ego can destroy an individual. We've seen it. We don't need, I'm not going to name examples, but we all know of situations where the ego has really, taken people down. So when we let go of the ego and say, hey, it's not about me, right? The world does not revolve around Eric Feinendagen. And when you make that shift, and when I do coaching for public speaking, a lot of people come in and say, Eric, I'm so nervous on stage. How do I overcome nerves? I give them the same advice. Take the focus off of you and put it onto somebody else.
Wow, powerful.
Share the gift. And when you take the focus off of you, all that anxiety and stress, it will melt away.
Wow.
So that would be the second step. And the third step, and again, are these easy? Absolutely not. Changing behaviors that's been ingrained for decades or your whole life, it is not easy to make that change, but it is worth it. But it does take courage.
Yes.
It takes a lot of courage to step outside of what you're comfortable with, to go ahead and focus on others, to focus on giving rather than getting, right? And know that when you do that, it will come back to you tenfold, 100-fold.
That's true.
So those would be the steps that I would recommend.
That's so true. And I love it, starting with your mindset, because ultimately the way we think is going to manifest in the way we speak and the way we act and the choices we make. So it's ultimately that internal little game that sometimes is the most difficult to really fine tune and to shift the perspective, to shift what you see and how you even absorb what's coming your way. And I think having the conversation like ours today helps me personally, and I hope helps our viewers and listeners as well, to make this shift. It's not overnight, like you said, it's not easy, but the more and more you surround yourself and listen to the people that have gone this path, that have taken those steps, it becomes really an encouraging message that you can do anything. I love that 4 words. And really looking at yes, it's taking courage, right? It's taking courage, and it's shifting a perspective and light from me into people, and that is actually a beautiful thing. And you could see that is, to me, is a really birthing of a leadership, because like John Maxwell said, it's not about you, it's about what impact are you making on others. And that is true leadership, because it's not about you, it's how you can help the other, those that you surround yourself with, those that are looking up to you to better themselves, and ultimately repeat that, right, on the repeat. And I believe that can really make a big difference in how we approach relationships and how we approach working in teams, how we approach our personal home life. It can fuel and really make a big difference in people's lives.
And John, you mentioned that that key word in my life, relationships, because it all comes down to that one word, in my opinion. Now, imagine what could happen in marriages. Mm-hmm. Imagine what can happen in the workplace. If people entered into those relationships with the attitude of, how can I serve? Right? How can I help you? How can I give back? If everybody entered into a relationship, and again, I'm not saying this is easy, but if we made that mental shift, imagine the quality of relationships that we would have out there compared to some of the struggles that we're seeing. And we don't need to talk about divorce rate. I'm not. That's not the topic of this conversation. But the evidence is there. The evidence is there that a shift in mentality is drastically needed.
Oh, yeah. And as you said, it's not easy, letting go of ego, letting go of your own spotlight in your own mind and heart. Gosh, it's a lot of inner work, and coming from a place of service, especially sometimes when you don't get much in return. It's a tough step, but I think there's beauty in it, because people recognize it when you act in this way without expectations. That's again a manifestation of abundance, because that visibly nobody's promising you any return, but there is going to be return on that investment in many more abundant ways. So I love that you mentioned that relationship, I think, is a key, and how you come into those relationships are absolutely can make a big difference between success and significance, and ultimately that you're just not gonna achieve what you desire. And with that, I'd love to for you to give us some tips on the stories. What kind of stories are we telling ourselves, and what kind of stories are we telling to others, and how can people shift that internal mental storytelling situation that is going on?
Absolutely. And we've covered a lot of ground so far, but I want to say this, to your listeners, if you don't take anything away from what we've talked about so far, please take away this, that the quality of your life depends on the quality of the story that you are telling yourself.
You say it again.
Stories.
Let me say it again.
Your life.
The quality of your life
depends on the quality of the story that you are telling yourself.
Wow. Depends on the quality of the story you, my friend, is telling yourself. I need to write a note myself.
I'll send you the clip notes, right?
Send me the clip.
So if you look at stories and the power that they have, they can start wars. They can end wars. They sell product. They can create dreams. You look at Walt Disney World. My children's favorite. Like, all it is it's storytelling. And when we grow up, we all grew up on stories. We're not told bedtime facts. We're told bedtime stories. And for a lot of people, the story has changed in the past 12 months.
Yes.
With the COVID coaster we're on, and all the challenges and the struggles and everything else, right? Our story has changed quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
But when you look at stories, things aren't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You have ups and downs. You are going to have challenges and struggles. But here's the key. We have the power to write the next chapter. We can't change what has happened in the past, but we can write the ending. So when you look at storytelling and the narrative that runs through our head, there's a mental loop, right? And we are programmed from a very early age to accept that mental loop. Like for example, the root of all evil is money. Some people, right? And to me, right? No, the root of all evil
is money.
Poverty.
It's not money. It's a love of money.
So I mean, but
I know your point.
If you grew up with that narrative, you're destined to be poor.
Because you internalize that, and you believe, you equalize evil to money. So you equalize to say, if I have money, if I go for more money, if I make more money, I become evil. And that is a big lie. I love where you're going with this, Eric. Please continue.
So I want to share something else. A lot of my examples are from John Maxwell, because he's been such a big influence in my life. And one of my favorite books of his is Becoming a Person of Influence. Mm-hmm. And in that book, and this tells the story, if you will, better than anything else. In that book, he states that close to 90% of the people that are incarcerated today, that are in jail, up to 90%, were told at one point in their life by a family member, a loved one, someone that was in their life, that, you know what, one day you're going to end up in jail. They're going to put you in jail, right? As a way of, now think about that. If you're told by a person of influence in your life, one day you're going to end up in jail, and that sticks in your mind, and then you replay that over and over and over again, well, that's what's going to happen. That's the story, right? That's the power of story. So if we change that narrative, right, to one day I'm going to do great things. One day I'm going to be a person of influence in someone else's life. So when you make that shift, right, and it's a choice. It comes down to choosing the story that you tell yourself. Mm-hmm. That literally, going back to what I said before, that will literally change the quality of your life. And this is even a greater thing, the lives of people that you care about. Your children, your spouse, the people that you work with, your neighbors, the people in your community, the church, synagogue, whatever it may be. So we're talking about from success to significance. You really want to be significant? Change the story that you are telling yourself. Write your new chapter.
Wow.
Today. Blank sheet.
Here's your assignment.
Next chapter, you write your ending.
Here's the assignment.
I'm excited, Shana. You got me fired up now.
I love it. And there's so much in that. I feel it's like enough for another episode to just unpeel all this, layers of what we're touching. I think we're just scratching the surface of it. But yes, my friend, if you're listening and tuning in, write what success means to you, write what significance means to you, and then write what story you want to tell yourself and you want to tell the world. And as you write this story, you have the power to write something beautiful. You have the power to be inspired. You have the power to write about who you want to become and what significance you want to manifest in your life. And that is tremendous. I feel that, that can be manifestation, just having a piece of paper and writing it down. And you inspired me to do that today, Eric, is really can be game changer. So now that, we're changing this perspective of what we're telling to ourselves, and how does it tie to what we're telling to ourselves, to what we're manifesting, or what stories we're telling to the world?
So, sorry, I was writing down an idea. Can you repeat that question again, Jana?
What we run. So you've given us an example. The stories that we tell ourselves were either placed into us by someone, or we've picked it along our lives or experiences, or we looked at the current situation we're in and say, oh, I'm doomed, I'm without job, and what am I going to do right now?
Sure.
And we're telling these negative stories to ourselves. Now we have the power to rewrite it, but then how do we communicate that powerful story that is not yet manifested to the world? What are your two tips on that?
Yep. All right. So I would say work on yourself more than your business. When you look at, people trying to improve and try and get better, to me, there's a disproportionate emphasis on, let's say, right, external. Okay, so I want to get in shape. Great cause, and everybody should be in shape, right? It just helps you live better. Okay, or I want to have nice things, right? And people, I think they fall into the trap of working on those external things, but it starts again from the inside out.
Yes.
So if you can have, and again, this is another buzzword I think that's very critical when it comes to the story, it's clarity.
Yes.
Once we become clear on what it is that what it is that we want to become, who it is that we want to be, the impact that we want to have in the world, when we can become clear on that and have that crystal clarity, that is when the story starts to develop. That's when, and if you look at storytelling, you've got characters and you've got carry away messages. Things will start to change in your life when you become clear on what it is that you want. People will enter into your world that they weren't there before. Why? Because you weren't clear on what you want.
So true.
When you have clarity, you start attracting things. And this goes for positive and negative. So if we go through life like, woe is me, or, I can't do this, or I'm not this, I'm not that, or I'm too short, I'm too old, I'm too poor, I'm too rich, I'm too whatever. When we replay that over and over again, we are bringing things into our life, whether we know it or not. Another step, and this is something that if people want to do this, they can. This is something that has worked for me. Several years ago, I was going through some serious stress-related anxiety, like physical problems. So problems brought on by stress. And I went and I talked to a psychologist, I talked to my doctor, right? And through a series of events, I got introduced to hypnosis. And I started to explore that and the power of the subconscious mind. And what a lot of people don't realize, Jana, is the subconscious mind is infinitely powerful than our conscious. It never shuts off. Anything that you tell your subconscious, it will work night and day. It can do over 1 trillion things at one time. I'll repeat, the subconscious can do over 1 trillion things at one time. So when you're feeding your subconscious, and I learned this through the power of hypnosis and self-hypnosis, which I do every single day, but when you feed your subconscious mind, right, it will work until it manifests in your life. It will not stop. It is a superpower that I really think more people need to embrace. It has changed my life for the positive because I changed my mental loop, right? I used to live on anxiety and worry. That was my diet. My diet was fear, anxiety, and worry.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as you can imagine, it brought on stress and angst,
Yes.
right? In internal, all these issues. So when you flip that, and now you're feeding your mind the positive, you're painting mental pictures. You have hope for better tomorrow. You're imagining what your life could be, not what it is.
Yes.
But what it could be.
Yes.
That's when you really have change.
I love that you shared your experience. And again, I think that can be applied to each one of us individually and differently. And I like that you shared what works for you. And I would like to encourage you as a listener and viewer, pick what works for you, whether it's meditation, whether it's a prayer, whether it's walk on the nature, something that can help you feed your mental, emotional, spiritual being with goodness, with positive, with healthy things that are building you up, that are helping you to grow, that are helping you to blossom, to thrive, right? Because if you look at the physical realm, what you feed yourself, is that what you become? Right? If you feed yourself junk day in and out, everybody know pretty much that's your body's going to manifest that. In the same way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, what you put into your being, what kind of information, what kind of sounds, what kind of stories you're telling yourself, whether externally or internally or mentally, is going to manifest who you're going to become inwardly. So that is a simple, I think, step, but it's really, really important to see that and also act on it consistently and daily, hopefully, to realize that you have the power within to change that narrative. And also you have a power to write your new chapter and communicate that new chapter that may not be yet manifested into existence to others in the world. And that is also, I love that you've shared, Eric, how you can communicate your ideas. Then your visions, your ideas, your mission can become more clear, and you can speak it into being, speak it to yourself, and speak it to those around you, and just watch amazing things happen.
Yeah. And I just want to share one more anecdote here, an example. There's a book that your listeners may or may not be aware of. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics. Maxwell Maltz is the author. It's a older book, but I picked it up, I think, when I was in college or something, right? So many moons ago, right? But in that, it explains that, if you look around in your physical world, right, the chair that you're sitting on right now was an idea in somebody's mind, right? The laptop that we're using started as an idea in somebody's mind. You fly in an airplane, it started as an idea in somebody's mind. So that's where we have to be the gatekeeper of our mind. And I talk about this at great length in our book, right? You have to guard your mind, like it's Fort Knox. Like you got, like the riches are in here. Okay. You have to guard that. The things that are coming into, because again, we can't discount the fact that our lives have been negatively impacted, by the pandemic.
Yes.
People are struggling. We have serious issues out there on all levels.
Yes.
Okay. Right. We're not here to deny reality.
Yes.
But what we are here to do is to take some simple steps to change our reality.
Internally first, right?
Correct.
The things that you can control are internal.
Correct.
Because you can't control pandemic, you can't control government, you can't control so many things, but internally you can control your choices. I love it.
That is correct. And when you start changing that, other things are going to change. And this is on my website. Hey, you want to change your life? First, change yourself.
Yes. And Eric, we have listeners asking the name of the book.
Sure.
Can you repeat it again so somebody can type it in the comments?
Yes, it's called Psycho-Cybernetics. Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz.
Good. And
wonderful,
maybe you can go back and just type it in the chat after we're done. Amazing
book. Love it.
Catch it. Wonderful, wonderful. And we have some comments here I want to share before we close up. Keith is saying, thank you, Eric and Jana, for your kind words. Great message, shifting from success being defined as personal achievement to success being significance to contributing others. A shift mentally is definitely needed. And Trudy says, is self-hypnosis different than mindful meditation, to which I'm doing daily? Maybe speak a little bit to that to help Trudy.
Yes, and I will. And Trudy Coit actually is my aunt, so I want to give a big shout out to Aunt Trudy. Thanks for the question.
Thank you so much.
The big difference in mindful meditation is wonderful for keeping us in the moment, for reducing stress. But here's the difference between self-hypnosis and meditation. It's the use of imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So self-hypnosis, you will put yourself in a meditative state, in more of a trance-like state. But again, the difference is now it's, well, two things. It's imagination. You start painting mental pictures. Because again, the subconscious does not know the difference between a real event and an imagined event. So the more emotions, the more clarity that you give your mind on an event that you want to happen, right? And, you know, Paul Martinelli, part of the John Maxwell team, talks about this: remember your future, right? Not remember your past, remember your future. What do you want your future to be remembered as? It's a slight shift. But when you use imagination, but also the power of self-suggestion, those are the two main things when it comes to hypnosis: imagination and self-suggestion. Because the subconscious mind, when you bring it to a trance-like state, now you're feeding it. You're feeding it those images, and you're feeding it those words. And it will work nonstop to make that a reality and manifest the things in your life.
That's wonderful. And we have a couple comments here. I think we have Liliana is asking, what does it in Toastmasters means to have DTM? Maybe you give us just a bit of insight on that. Keith gave a comment here saying it's distinguished Toastmaster, but he does want you, Eric, to give a little bit more comprehensive answer on that, so you can little bit of boastly.
Yes. Real quick.
Inspired to join Toastmasters, which I've looked into. It's amazing, phenomenal organization.
Yeah, I'll give a plug for Toastmasters. I've been involved with Toastmasters 17 years. I'm a two-time finalist in the World Championship of Public Speaking that is hosted by Toastmasters in an international speech contest. And DTM stands for Distinguished Toastmaster. It is the highest level, educational level you can achieve in Toastmasters. Thank you. And less than 1% of the people involved in Toastmasters earn that designation. But what it does is it allows you to grow as a speaker, but also as a leader. So you go through a series of, projects and things that you have to do to build your communication and leadership skills. Again, serving, being significant in the lives of others in order to achieve that designation. I will say this: it took me quite a bit longer than most to get my DTM, but it doesn't matter where you start; it matters where you finish. So I got it. I'm proud of that, and thank you for asking that question.
Well, that's wonderful, and I'm really excited. You're such an inspiration. I've heard your speech on one of the open houses and Toastmasters clubs that Keith invited me, and that was really inspiring and phenomenal. It almost sold me on it. I had to kind of brace myself and say, I gotta prioritize. But you definitely sold me on it.
We only have time for so much in the day, right, John?
It's brilliant organization and can give you a lot of value. Yes. So, Eric, I really appreciate you joining today and sharing so many insights. I feel we just scratched the surface, but have so many deep, meaningful, really thoughts that are worth of considering, contemplating, writing down, and chewing on, so to speak. Goodness, there's someone mentioned this: don't feed yourself trash. Here's, I think, Liliana saying, guard your mind, Walt, from trash infiltration. That is a very smart advice as well.
That, yes.
And
I'm gonna have to use that in my next podcast.
That's good. As we close, and Eric, maybe give us a little bit of insights on what this all interesting 52 weeks guide is about that you're working on.
Yes. So it's my first book. I'm very proud of it, and thank you. It's a labor of love. I will say that going into my first book, I was very naive and very ignorant as to the amount of energy, effort, and time it was going to take to write a book, right? But I know now in the future. But no, it is, I consider it a culmination of a lot of the concepts and strategies that have really helped me in my life. Strategies that I have, kind of adopted on my own, but also strategies that have been imparted onto me by a lot of the great influencers that I've been lucky to know in my life. So what I do is, every week I offer a new nugget, a new strategy to help the individual change habits, change mindsets. I feel that a lot of us, as we go through life, we get beat up, chewed up, and spit out, right? We go through the struggles, the difficulties, and we lose that inspiration. So the whole premise of the book is to find that inspiration once again. And, you can do that by different philosophies, different strategies. And I share a lot of those in the book because I it's about giving hope. It's about giving hope to the individual and hope to others. And again, we can agree with the challenges that we're going through right now. Every single one of us needs more hope. And that's the goal of the book, is to provide hope in the lives of others and keep them inspired to achieve their dreams.
Well, I'm going to definitely follow you for that, and looking forward to this release. It's going to be exciting to have that handy. And if you have not yet connected with Eric, go find him on LinkedIn, send him a connection request, get to know him a little bit more, maybe chat with him about how he can help you with your public speaking skills. I think nowadays you don't have to be physically in front of a crowd. There's so many opportunities virtually to do that, and we do need to enhance our skills, and Eric is the best person to help you do so.
Well, yes, absolutely. So if you want to get a hold of me, as mentioned, LinkedIn, Facebook, my website is a great resource, www.inspiretoempower.net. Once again, www.inspiretoempower.net. You can see a lot of my programs. I have a lot of videos of me speaking on stage, and hopefully you can get some good lessons out of that. And I just want to say thank you once again to you, Jana, to all your listeners. I'm so grateful to be able to share ideas, learn together with everyone, and and make this world a better place.
I agree. It's been fun and pleasure. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Jana.
Wow, this was really powerful. Here you are, Eric, with his Inspire to Empower and Empower to Inspire. I love this, and watch this man. He's up to something really, really powerful to do, make a big shift in this world. As you could see, he is full of energy, a lot of stories, and a lot of inspiration coming up. So go and follow and watch this man to help you, my friend, become more powerful. And that's all it is about. It is about us defining our success, and then us identifying what significance is to us and moving that trajectory from success to significance to serve others on a new, deeper, and different level to make an impact in this world. Well, it's been a privilege to be here with you, my friend. Thank you for sticking all the way to the end. Watch replay. If you do need to watch it, I will go watch it myself and take some notes. And again, I will see you next week. Until then, keep powering unique you, and take care.